Hello. I am Merlin, the Microsoft agent, and I will be your guide during this lesson.
Woo!
Hey. Do I know you? You look very familiar to me. I remember. You are the same one I was talking to 3 chapters before. Nice to see you again. Are you ready to start? In the previous chapter you saw me using some controls inside a dynamic page. In this chapter we will learn more about controls and how to use them. In the last demo, we saw how to work with Visual Web Developer Express Edition to create a dynamic web page. We will talk more about server controls in this chapter and how to work with them. As we saw in the previous chapters, a dynamic web page renders HTML to the end user after the web server processes all the code. In the process of building an ASPX page, we used controls to define the functionality of the page. Let me think in an example. I've got it. For example, the grid view control is used to display data from a database. And the calendar control allows the user to select dates. These kinds of controls are called server controls. There are many different types of server controls with different functionality, but there are a couple things they all have in common. First, you can configure them beforehand. When you first create the page. That way, when it comes time for the server to process the page, T will know what it needs to do with the controls. For example, we can tell the grid view control to show data about types of dogs from certain database and show this information in groups of 3. We can do all this during creation of the page. This is the way we work with server controls. So when the page runs, the server will use this information to process the ASPX page. The second thing server controls have in common is that they become HTML when the page is returned back to the client. Here is the code for the control at development time in the ASPX page. And here you can see how the code for the control looks in the final page. You also see this by selecting View Source in a browser. As you can see, these server controls have turned into HTML. The grid view server control becomes a table tag. You can ignore the code with a light blue background. That is for paging the results. Take note. To summarize, a server control executes its program logic on the server and appears as HTML to the client. ASP.NET has many server controls, and you can find them listed in the toolbox in Visual Web Developer Express. Now let's move on to the demo. Now Petey is going to show you a couple of demos using server controls. Is Petey there? Hello? Okay, is here. I will cook my dinner. Is dinner time in here?
Not again! I am sorry, someone leave a cookie here, near the keyboard. Okay, welcome to the second demo of this course. In this demo, I will show you some server controls, and explain how to use them. Here we have the same website I created for the last demo. Now let's add a new web form. You remember how to do that, eh? Okay, I will add a new web form. Okay, now we have a new page named Demo 2. First, let's add a few controls. I will add a calendar control, a button and a label. When the user picks a date and presses the button, the page will be processed by the web server, and the response will contain a label displaying the selected date. Is it clear? Change to Design View. Drag and drop the controls from the toolbox. Now let's add some code to be executed when the user clicks the button. Remember how to do that. Just double-click the button control, and we can start writing our code. Bravo! The code will be very similar to the last one. Let's type label 1. Intelligence is helping me. I choose text. Equals to. Quotation mark. You selected it. Quotation mark. And this time we want calendar 1. Select date. To string. It's just like the last example, except using the calendar control. Now let's see how it looks in Internet Explorer. Right-click on the page and select View in Browser. Ouch! I forget to save again! Okay, time to see the page on the browser. Again. Now let's pick a date and click the button. Great! Beautiful, isn't it? No. It needs more color. Now let's go back to the design view. Click the arrow on the calendar control and choose Auto Format to pick a nicer design. This is okay. I would also like to make a little change in the way the date is displayed. Going back to the code. I want to display a short version of the date. So let me change the string to short date string. Very logical, eh? Now let's save the page. View in browser. we get a message saying that ASP.NET will refresh the running page to get the new version. Click Accept. Here are our changes. Better, eh? I need another point of view. Better. I will show you another example which is a little more complicated and uses a data source to show information from a database. Another example which is a little more complicated and uses a data source to show information from a database. In order to follow along, you'll need to copy the database file's name dogs from the resources folder to the application data folder in your application. Here it is. Now we can start the demo. Ready? Okay. Let's create a new page named Data. And switch to Design View. Yes. Okay. Now I will add a grid view control, which is located in the toolbox, under the Data category. Here is the control. Let's use a little arrow on the control to do some common tasks. First, let's select the data source. A new data source this time. I will select the database data source type. Click OK. And I will create a new connection to point to the dogs database. Click the Browse button to find the database file I added a few minutes ago. Here it is. Click OK. And we are almost ready. Click Next. And let's call this connection the dogs connection. Next. Look here. This window shows me all the tables that the database contains. Let's select the dogs table. These are the fields inside the table. Let's pick some field to show. ID. Move it name. Read a little picture. Great. This is how a SQL select query is created to select data from a database. Click Next. And let's test this query to see if it's working. Yes. Success. Now click Finish. And the grid view control is done. Let's save the page and look at it in the browser. Great, it works. But we have a long list of dogs. Let's find out how we can better format our data. Go into the design view again. And use the arrow menu to select auto format. Choose a nicer layout for our grid. This is cool. But this is better. Green is my favorite color. You can also help the user to look through the data by adding a paging button to your grid view. Select the Grid View Tasks menu again, and select Enable Paging. By default, the paging size is 10 records, but we don't have many logs in this database, so let's set the page size to 3. To do this, I need to go into the properties of the Grid View control. It's easy. Just right-click on the control, and choose Properties to see the Properties window. Yes. To your right you can see the Properties window. Here I can change many things including the color of the format. Great, isn't it? Let's look for the page size property, and set its value to 3. Now it's 3. Yes! Okay, let's test it again in the browser. Looks good. The data is being displayed in the grid view, in groups of 3. And the paging looks like it's working. Great. I'm a genius. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's try sorting the data. Go to the Grid View control in the Design view. Select the Tasks menu on the control. And check the Enable Sorting option. This will automatically sort the data. Again, let's save the page and view in the browser. Great! It's working! Okay, time to go back with Merlin. See you later. Time to feed the bird.
Woo! Hey, you are back. Welcome back. Come with me to the next slide. Now let us take a look at the code for the calendar control. We know it was easy to do, but this full page of HTML code, ASP tags and Visual Basic.NET code is not too easy to read. Now imagine a huge page with all these elements. Maintaining a page like this could be difficult. And a web application usually has many pages. ASP.NET makes maintaining your pages a bit easier with something called code behind. Using this method, we can separate the HTML and ASP tags from the actual Visual Basic.NET code. In order to set up code behind, we need to take the following steps. Come with me to Visual Web Developer Express. Woo! I'm sorry, I didn't sleep well last night. First, I will create a new page. Add new item. This is the menu for the new page. Calendar demo. I need to specify that I want the code in a separate page. By checking the box that says Place code in a separate file. Easy. Now everything is ready. Let me do the calendar example again. One page, name my new page ASPX, containing the HTML and ASP.NET tags. Another page, name my new page.aspx.vb, containing the Visual Basic.NET code for the page. Both pages will act as one for the end user. They won't know that we've split them up using code behind. Go back to the PowerPoint presentation to see this in detail. One page with the HTML code and the ASP.NET tags, and another with a Visual Basic.NET code. This way of working with web pages is more organized and better for teams of designers and developers working together on the same project. Now we are ready for a formal definition of ASP.NET. ASP.NET is a declarative model of server-side controls that allows you to create web applications based on the .NET framework. ASP.NET makes it possible to create dynamic web applications. The .NET framework is the foundation for, and must be installed in order to process the server controls. See you later.